Hello. Please excuse my sweaty visage. Clearly I'm on the womanopause. Now I've been scrabbling up some rather dangerous slopes. All in the name of giving you some visual pleasure. Anyway, that leads me nicely onto the subject of this little video, which is about sex and gender. Well, about 25 years ago, maybe 30, nearly, yeah, 25, 30 years ago, I took it upon myself to indulge in some gender studies, because I used to make clothes and I had an interest in fashion, clothing, as opposed to fashion. My views on fashion are a little bit of a bit like Hollywood. It's a bullshit industry, isn't it? You know, designed to make you feel like you're not trendy if you're not wearing the latest stuff, so you buy stuff. Yeah. Anyway, and because of that, it kind of led me on to all these different things. Because, well, I'll come to that. So what I did, I read every book that I could get from 2 libraries that were related to sex and gender, which included a book on pirates, and even in the back there was quite a few pages that just listed known people, known pirates, female pirates, not just known pirates. There were hundreds of them, thousands, and I read the name of everyone, their date of birth, where they came from, you know, all of that. I don't skip out appendices and things because they have interesting information. So yeah, and there were other books. There was books on autobiographies of trans people. There was even there was stuff about gender and how it's determined in the womb. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. And so, you know, I learned quite a lot from it. And because I haven't been trained by certain ways of thinking, by accepted ways of thinking, my mind is a bit more open, and so I have a lot of knowledge on the subject, and I've actually been, I won't say instrumental, although I'll leave that for another time maybe, but let's say I have helped to shape the world how it is, not just by how we all are by existing, but in more ways than that, by existing and being seen by people that it's then influenced. I know that sounds a bit cryptic, but partly it's something I'm not sure whether I'm that pleased about, yeah, because it's kind of backfired in a way. Anyway, so I can't remember where I was going with this. Yes, so one thing I learned, or that was clear from all the reading I was doing and all the research, was that not that much difference between men and women at all. I'm not getting into gender there, I'm just talking about men and women, okay? Because there isn't. You know, the only thing that defines the genitals is the testosterone at birth, during pregnancy, or not. That's it. That's the only thing. And also, that's kind of interesting as well, because that is what makes the difference. See, it may not be much, may not seem like much, but it is. You know, and it's quite interesting that in people I've spoken to and chatted with and stuff, there are more men that said, maybe I'd rather be a woman, or I'd prefer to be, but hardly any women have said that they'd rather be a man. They'd like to try it for a day. But I thought that was quite interesting, especially as we hear, you know, all the feminists going on about how hard time it is being a woman, and yes, it is in certain ways, but I wonder if that's kind of some kind of male agenda because of what I've just said. Don't you think? I don't know. I kind of think so. You know, from my experience and people I've spoken to and things, I would definitely say that one of the problems with it all is there is the question of agenda by the elites, for example, but also there is this question of how things are categorized. You know, there's a lot of people who just assume that sex and gender are the same, when they're not. They're not the same. But then they both go back to, well, it depends how you define it. And yeah, it does. So if you define it, you know, by physical characteristics, there are people who are born with, you know, the women that are born without wombs, for example, or with both sex organs, people born with both sex organs. It happens. So they're then, instead of being accepted for both, they're having to have it decided for them. But then you also have the genetic side of it, you know, the X and Y stuff. And really, if you look at it, you just think, well, you could say women are the complete human because they're X and X, and the male is Y because it's got a bit of the X missing. But you know, it's a kind of strange thing. Because on the one hand it's true, and on the other brings up the question of, well, how did we come into being anyway? Because with all the trans thing going on, doesn't it make you think, hang on, maybe there was more to this? You know, maybe we were already messed about with by something. I mean, you know, look at all the creation myths. You know, they're all about something coming from outer space, these gods. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield really. Now people say, yeah, but you know, look at nature. I better run steam. People say, well, look at nature. You go, well, okay, so a flower's got male and female parts. You know, there are certain trees that are male and certain trees that are female. There are others that are both, you know. But then when you really look at it, the only thing that doesn't fit with all of this are humans. We just don't fit. You know, I had a friend talk to me, you know, argue with me about the evolving thing. You know, yeah, well, some things have evolved to do this and some have evolved to do that. But that evolving that they've done isn't really, they're not firing spaceships to go to the moon. They haven't made all this stuff, and you know, it's like we can't see it, but we're bombarded with a mass of signals in the air all the time. Yeah, animals haven't done that. They just potter around, you know, get their food, hibernate, or you know, procreate, hibernate, eat. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think you can use that analogy. Yeah, but like I said, really, there are all things, and the way I see it is, really, it's about how people are, and a lot of that is down to how people are trained to be, how people are trained to see things. That's what's causing the problem, rather than just accepting everything and everyone for who they are. You know, if you keep bombarded things your life with, you know, girls are like this, boys are like this, bombard, 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 and yet you don't fit into any of those. I mean, no one who's watching this fits into 100% of it all, and it kind of limits you in so many ways. You know, limits you emotionally, limits you creatively. It's just a limiting thing. So we can't all, yeah, so it's like it's got to have come from some other reason, hasn't it? But that's the problem. And you know, this is just personally, you know, if you've had to undergo an operation in order to change your body to fit with something that your mind is, I'm not sure about that, really. But like I said, you know, all kinds of animals in nature do that, don't they? So that's my, you know, it's like the non-acceptance of people as they are is causing the problem, and part of the reason why certain people don't behave like the rest of us can be due to a whole load of things, including how they've, the whole knock-on effect about how people are, because they've been trained to be a certain way, is causing the problem. Because then you've got these knock-on effects for the people, you know, parents who are trying to get their children to be in a certain way. But you know, there are things that I could say, like for example, okay, I mean, one of the things, I wear skirts because you see how hot I get. You don't want to see down there with no airflow, but because I find them cooler and more comfortable. And but I was forced by the hassle I got from doing it. I was forced in this position where I was thinking, well, maybe it'd be better off just changing my sex, and then I can do it. And then I thought, fuck that, why should I have to go through that just in order for a bit of cloth? So, and it's that's actually because people used to see me around, or have seen me around. I say used to because the things have kind of changed a bit. But there was one day where you know, sometimes when you look people in the eye or you see how they look at you, you know stuff, you know? It's like when I had loads of hair, I used to see this bald bloke, and the way he looked at me was, you know, his wife was quite cute as well. I had a bit of a thing, not thing for her, but I kind of fancied his wife. But it was the way he looked at me when he wasn't with her or anything. It wasn't about that, because it wasn't a, you know, it's just like you see attractive people go, oh, she's nice, or he's nice, or whatever. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it. But the way he was looking at me, it was like, you know, he obviously used to have hair, and you could see him sad, looking sad. I have an old friend who went bald very young, and I used to feel for him, you know. But like I say, it's about how people are, the disrespect of people, or the people think that just because you don't look like they do and you haven't obeyed the controls, that they have a right to shout abuse at you, which happened to me for decades every time I went out. I've mentioned this in another video, but I haven't edited it. But honestly, every single time I went out, someone would shout abuse at me. Sometimes they used to shout abuse at me when it was just my legs sticking out from under my van, when I was doing some work on it. Or I was, you know, and they couldn't even see me. You know, people used to actually turn their cars round to drive past me again just to shout more abuse. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. I think I've had the experience. Oh, there's some nice flowers in there. Don't know if we can get close enough on them to see them, the blue ones and the white ones, and there's a few poppies as well. Ah, that'll be some kind of green manure, won't it? So as you know, with this channel and things I say, I just say stuff to get you thinking, because we're at a crucial point in our world now. For some it's too late, but for others it's not. But anyway, fingers crossed. Thanks for watching. I'll shut up now. I could go into more detail and stuff, maybe, but I think you might have had enough of me by now. So I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.